Welcome to episode 9 of season 5 of the Gospelovergimmicks podcast. Today we are going to discuss the downfall of the Boy Scouts of America and see what we can learn from it. Let's get after it. Hello, and glad you could join me for the Gospelovergimmicks podcast. I'm your host, Richard Stormy Norman, here to tell you everything I know, some things I highly suspect. Today I want to talk about the recent news, came out a few weeks ago, about the Boy Scouts of America filing for bankruptcy. Now you might think, what does that have to do with anything? And like most organizations that began, especially in the early 20th century, the Boy Scouts were founded with Christian principles, you know. A lot of groups back then were, because Christianity was like a normal thing, not like it is today. 110 years later, and their rapid decline into moral depravity has brought them down. I felt like it might be a good idea to see how they got here. We'll look at how they started and what has happened along the way, and possibly learn some lessons from it. Before we get into that, though, how are you doing this wonderful Saturday morning? Yeah, it technically is still morning. I was going to do the podcast last night, then my wife said that she was going to go watch her nephew for her mama. Her mom's in the process of packing and moving, so she went to go watch her little nephew. He's like this big. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Then I'll just do the podcast tomorrow when you're not here, because I like doing the podcast with an empty house. So here we are on Saturday morning. Leap day. That's right. Today's leap day. So if anything you post on Facebook, you won't see it in your memories for 4 years. So today's leap day and natural. You know, usually I record these things when it's dark outside in the evening, but since it's morning time, we got the natural light coming in. So I didn't turn my lamps on or anything. I'm just going off natural light this morning, and I changed my hat up because why not, right? I used to wear these kind of hats all the time. Then I kind of stopped for some reason. But I might get back into it because they really work well with my glasses. You know, they don't touch my glass. Anyway, don't want to ramble. Sticker giveaway. Let's do that. Let me make sure I'm talking into the microphone. There we go. We'll get to the microphone part in a minute. Anyway, sticker giveaway. We had 5 people enter, and we're going to pick 2 of y'all to win the stickers that are on the board behind me. They're still there, right? Yeah, they're still there on the board behind me. So, let me see if I remember how to do this. Let me bring my camera up so I can show y'all. So here's our list of people that enter the contest. Choose Brad 737. Brad 737. I don't know if you're a pilot and you fly 737s, but Brad 737 wins a sticker. I better write this down. All right. Who else wins a sticker? Ta-da! 76 Uncle Fester. 76 Uncle Fester. I love that name. I loved watching the Addams Family when I was a kid. Everybody liked Uncle Fester, right? So Brad 737 and 76 Uncle Fester, you have won the last 2 stickers that have the old logo on it until I order some new ones. So if you just email me your address where you want me to send this sticker to, and I'll get it out to you. Lickety split. So the microphone, did I talk about the microphone last week? I think I did. How the microphone was no good. So anyway, I ordered a new microphone. And I just wanted to mention it because I ordered it from this website called Sweetwater, because I usually order everything off Amazon, obviously, right? We all do that. But I was watching reviews of it, because I don't just buy stuff unless I've watched some reviews for it. So I was watching some reviews for it, and this guy on there was talking about how he ordered it from Sweetwater, and he was talking about their customer service. I was like, when I was looking to buy it, it was the same price there as Amazon, but they give you like a free 2-year warranty and all this free shipping and all this stuff. So I was like, well, let me try them out. So I've tried them out. Microphone ain't here yet, but it said to be here by Tuesday. I kind of think it'll be here as soon as I finish recording this episode. That's kind of my luck. But they called me when it shipped. They texted me when it shipped because I didn't answer the phone because I don't do that. And so far their customer service is as good as I heard. I don't know how many of y'all are in the market to buy a microphone or any kind of. I don't know what else they sell. They might sell other things too, but I don't know if you're in the market to buy a microphone or something. Check out Sweetwater, man. So far, the customer service is fantastic. Plus, they give you a 2-year warranty. What? And they got, tech professionals. If you don't know how to use it or something's wrong, they'll try and help you, I guess. They didn't pay me to say none of that. I'm just saying that I'm pretty impressed so far by them. I might have to buy some more stuff from them later on. But anyway, the microphone will be here next week. It's a, not that y'all really care, but it's a Rode pod mic, and it's a dynamic like this one. I've decided since I plugged this up to my other box just to make doubly sure, and it didn't work on that either. So I don't know. I guess there was some kind of power surge. These things are, the diaphragm or whatever in them is kind of fragile. That's why they're for studio use and stuff, and the dynamic is made to take a beating. So I guess there was some kind of power surge when the electricity went out that one time a couple weeks ago that must have fried the diaphragm or whatever in this thing, whatever it's called. But that stinks, man. I only had this thing for like 6 months. So I decided the next mic, this pod mic we're getting is a dynamic mic. I'm not messing with condenser mics anymore. We're just going to stick with dynamics because they can take a beating and they don't have to have power to mess with them or nothing like that. Anyway, I'm rambling on again about microphones. New logo. Let me go. Well, I'm going to put the new logo on the screen. It won by like 70-something%, which is not a surprise. Kind of figured it would win by a lot. But I'll put the new logo on the screen right now. So that's the new logo. You can see that I have started switching over, like the Facebook page. I've switched over the profile pic to the new logo, and I've changed the banner with the new logo. And I don't know if I did the group or not. I think I did, but I don't remember. So I just got to switch over. I'm trying to decide if I want to go with that background that I have that we use for the weekly updates on Instagram. But anyway, I'll have that all switched over on YouTube and on Spreaker and all that before too long. So we'll get that taken care of, and we'll get some stickers ordered at some point. The Bible study will be next week. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I still got, quite a few. My office was clean a couple weeks ago. But like I said, my wife just likes to throw things in here when she don't know what to do with them. Let me see how far I got. I didn't get far. I think I got 9 verses or something. Let me find it. Here it is. Yeah, I got 9 verses done. In the Bible study, there's 23, I believe. 24 verses in it. And I've got 9. But, that ain't a big deal. We can knock that out. That's less than 20 verses. We'll get that taken care of this week, and we'll get the Bible study up next Monday. We might actually do a Bible study every month. since we're not doing, we used to do Bible study one month, Bible giveaway the next month. And we'd alternate, but since we're only doing one Bible giveaway this season, at the end of the season, we might do a Bible study every month. I don't know. We'll see how that works out, because I really like Galatians is really interesting, and I think it's going to be a good Bible study. But anyway, I got one last thing, and then we will get into the main topic. This is a question for y'all. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Trinity Radio, Michael Hose knows about it. But Trinity, I was listening to Trinity Radio podcast, and they were talking, or Dr. Hunter, he was by himself that day, and he was talking about this YouTube atheist. What was his name? Cosmic Skeptic, I think his name was. But anyway, he's a really popular YouTube atheist, if that's the thing. And he was it was an interview he did about how he left Christianity and became an atheist. And he was saying he had all these questions, like if God is so powerful and good and stuff. The typical theodicy question that people have. If God is so good, why does evil exist? And he went to his pastors, leaders in this church, and asked them, I don't know what kind of church it was he went to, and he asked them, if God's good, why is evil exist? And they'd be like, well, then this is what he said. I don't know if this is really what they said or not. Well, some things God does we just can't understand. And then, of course, he went to the atheists, and he thought their answer was a lot better. And Dr. Hunter was saying, if you're a pastor, that is unacceptable. If someone asks, if you have a member in your church asking you questions like this, you should be able to answer them. And I thought that's a good point. So I thought I would throw it out to y'all. What is one question, any question, well, Bible related, obviously. What is one question, say you're a pastor, and maybe you got a new member coming in, or maybe a skeptic is in the congregation, and they come to you with a question. What do you think one question that a pastor should be able to answer? I just thought I'd throw that out there and see what kind of answers I get from y'all, because obviously if someone's asking, what, if God is so good, why is there evil in the world, or something like, obviously that's a good question that a pastor should be able to answer. But what do you think is a question a pastor should be able to answer? I think, one, if he's, my kind of pastor, the kind of church I go to, he should be able to answer questions like, why do you believe that the King James is the Word of God over these other translations? And he should be able to answer, what is dispensationalism, stuff like that. But what do you think? Because I know not everybody that listens and watches the podcast is like me. What do you think is a question that a pastor should be able to answer when someone comes to him and asks him? So that's it for the introductory segment. Let's get into the main topic. Whatever I called it, I don't remember. I'll put it up on the screen. I remember it like it was yesterday. Okay, maybe not quite like yesterday, because it was, like 30 years ago. But I was about 10 or 11 years old, and the kid down the street that I sometimes hung out with, because there wasn't really any kids. Not that I really liked him. It was just like, didn't really have anybody on my road to hang out with. When I was growing up, there was no kids really on my road except us. So whenever a new kid moved in, it was like, hey, let's go play with this kid. But anyway, technically, so I hung out with this kid, and he joined the Boy Scouts. So naturally, I wanted to join the Boy Scouts too, right? So technically it was Cub Scouts is what we joined. But, if you know anything about Boy Scouts, they have all these different divisions for ages and whatnot. So we joined the Cub Scouts. And so for the next year, we had, the weekly meetings at the school cafeteria down the street from my house, trying to get my merit badges, going camping at Goldhead Actually, I don't know if that was camping or I don't remember. But we went to Go Ahead and I got lost. But luckily, I found my way back. Hallelujah. And of course, the granddaddy of them all, Scout World. Now, I don't think it was called that. I think I was when I was doing my research. Apparently, it's called Jamboree, but I thought it was called. But anyway, it was at the Navy base, NAS Jax, and they had all the planes out there, and we got to get inside the planes and whatnot. It was fun. But anyway, after that, about a year of that, because actually, when I was doing my research, I found out that when I joined, I was right at the end of the age group for Cub Scouts. So when Cub Scouts ended, I was going to go into the next phase, which is at the time, it was called Webelos. I don't know what that means, but that's what it was called. Which meant I had to get a whole new uniform and all this mess. My parents couldn't really afford it. Like, they didn't really say that, but I could tell they couldn't really afford it. They would have made it happen, but they didn't have to worry about it because I was kind of bored with it at that point, so I just kind of quit. But let's briefly look. That's my history with the Boy Scouts. Let's briefly look at the history of the Scouts and see how they started and how they ended up in bankruptcy. Brief history, even though I got 3 pages of notes. It's very brief. The Scouting movement, as it was termed, began in 1907 in England, with industrialization drawing many families into the city for work. Some feared that young boys weren't learning the skills they felt were needed for them to become good men, because these kids, their families would move to Daddy went to the city to get a job at the new steel factory or whatever, brought his kids with him into the city, so now they're growing up in the city. No offense if you live in the city, but people were worried these boys used to be out, in the rural areas, farming and hunting and doing all these outdoor chopping wood and stuff like this. And now they're in the city, nothing to do but cause trouble. So they were worried about that, and they started the Scouting movement, which started in England. And then it made its way over here. Scouting found its way to America, and the Boy Scouts of America was founded in 1910. Much like the Catholic Church, BSA has had its problems with pedophilia, which probably some other, I don't want to blame it all on the Catholics, but they are known for that. But they've had their problems with pedophilia. This is primarily the reason for their current decision. I mean, once you see all this put together, you're going to see why that pedophilia is causing them to shut down, because they got all these lawsuits being filed against them, and they don't got the money to pay it. Well, why don't they got the money to pay it? Because their membership is dropping like a rock, so they're not bringing in much income that way. Anyway, let's get on with it. You'll understand a lot more when I'm done. However, we cannot ignore their seemingly headfirst dive into acceptance of sin and confusion. After all, they were founded as a Christian organization. Take your Bible and go to Galatians chapter 6. I'll use this very expensive Bible. Galatians 6, 7 through 8. By the way, if you're wondering, my R.L. Allen Bevere black face and brown Highland goatskin. Verse 6 and, 7 and 8. Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. In 2000, the Boy Scouts of America found themselves in a court battle at the federal level, defending their policy not to allow gay scout leaders. A battle that ended with the Supreme Court ruling in their favor. Like I said, they started out as a Christian organization, even though, they had their problems in pedophilia, and some of the stuff I read talked about how they've pretty much had that problem since they started. But, when you look at the number of victims compared to the number of Boy Scouts in general, it's like very small. Not that it's right, not that I'm excusing it, by no means, but it's like 1,600 cases, and they have millions and millions of members. Still not right at all. Not saying it's right, but I just wanted to point out the fact that not all of them were wicked people working in the Boy Scouts. I never had any problems like that when I was in. No, I was only in there a year though. But anyway, they wouldn't allow gay scout leaders, right? Obviously, because they are an organization based on biblical principles. So obviously, letting gay people in like that wouldn't be right. But they went to the Supreme Court in 2000, and they won. The court said they can, by religious convictions, not allow gay scout leaders. That the First Amendment to get the what they call it. The First Amendment says you have the right to associate with whoever you want to. And if you don't want to associate with homosexuals, you don't have to. Now, you would think, wow, that's great. You know, they went to the Supreme Court and they won the right to continue to operate under a biblical principle. You would think that. You'd be right. Yet the BSA would squander it. So sad. In 2004, they adopted a new policy disallowing leaders to continue to hold their position if they were openly homosexual. Now you read that, you're like, heck yeah, double down, son. Double down. They won their decision, and this and that. They're going to make sure there ain't no openly practicing homosexuals. But less than 10 years later, the downward spiral would start. In 2012, a resolution was put forth to allow gay people as scout leaders in individual units. That means they would, if that unit over there in, Fort Wayne, Indiana, wanted to have a gay scout leader, like that's up to them. Like, they weren't going to make a blanket policy. They were just going to allow it on a unit by unit basis. However, it was voted down. The Boy Scout Council or whatever voted it down, causing Intel, UPS, and Merck to cut their financial ties. Now you start to see where this is headed, right? Like, you know how this works. I don't have to tell you. They had these big companies that were supporting them and sitting on their board, and they decided to uphold no gay scout leaders. And these three companies pulled their support. Now, you kind of get an idea of where this is headed, right? In May of 2013, the Boy Scouts of America's National Council voted to allow membership to youth regardless of their sexual orientation, while still prohibiting open homosexual men from being leaders. So this was the opening, that the wicked LGBT people needed to get all up in the Boy Scouts. They got their opening now. September the year, September 2013 is when Trail Life USA was founded, which is was the organization that started, former Boy Scouts. I guess they were fed up with this, start to allow homosexuals in, so they started Trail Life based on Christian. Basically, they took, the Boy Scouts. They said, y'all ain't doing what you were founded to do in the ways you were founded to do them. So they went and started Trail Life. July of 2015, the ban on gay scout leaders was lifted. January 2017, which is less than 2 years later, transgender boys. Let me put my air quotes up. Transgender boys were allowed to join. October 2017, girls were allowed to join. Oh, what happened to Boy Scouts? February 2019, last year, name changed to Scouts BSA, which is stupid. But February 2020, they filed, a year after they changed their name, they're filing for bankruptcy. And less than 10 years after they started letting homosexuals in. Let's keep in mind that the article I read, one of them, the membership of the Boy Scouts of America in 1972 was 6.5 million. I'm assuming that's their peak. I'm assuming that's why they used it in the article because that was the peak. Their membership now, 2 million. So like a third of what they used to have. So this is the story of BSA. But what can we learn from this story? We can see many other examples of this around us. BSA just shows us the inevitable end, Jesus warned us what happens when we try to adopt bad doctrine or worldly doctrine. Matthew 16:6. Let me get a Bible I can flip through. Matthew 16:6 and verses 11 through 12. Then Jesus said unto them, Take heed, and beware the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Then skip ahead to verse 11. How is it that you do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread, that you should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees? Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Paul also warned of this twice. First time being in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 6 through 8. Your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened, for even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. The Corinthians were allowing sin and worldliness to creep into their church, and Paul was telling them you're letting leaven in, and it's going to ruin the whole thing. Paul again in Galatians 5:1-9. Stand fast therefore in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Behold, I, Paul, say unto you, that if ye be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. For I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law. Christ is become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law, ye are fallen from grace. For we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith. For in Jesus Christ neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. Ye did run well. Who did hinder you that you should not obey the truth? This persuasion cometh not of him that calleth you. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. So the Galatians allowed false religion to creep in. And Paul's telling them, this didn't come from me. And it didn't come from God. So it must have come from somewhere else where it shouldn't have come from. And today we see major corporations falling over themselves to show how woke they are. I got that in my little journal here that I keep my show ideas. I have an episode called about being woke. We might do that someday. We might not. Sometimes I write down ideas for shows in here that seem good at the time, and then I look at them later and like, oh, that'd be stupid. But anyway, all these major corporations and businesses trying to show that they're woke. What happens every June when Gay Pride Month starts? All these major corporations start changing their logo to be rainbow colored on Facebook so they can show their support. They don't care about the LGBT people. They don't give a crap. They just want their business. But they think, the LGBT people think that, oh, they're really looking out for us. They don't care about you. Just like politicians. I'm going to vote for this guy because he supports, LGBT rights and stuff. No, he don't. He don't give a crap. He just wants your vote. He just wants your vote. He thinks you're disgusting. But if pretending to like you will get your vote, he'll do it. Not far behind these corporations, we see the big denominations following suit, which are, these big denominations like the Methodist, Presbyterians, the Southern Baptist Convention. They're essentially just big corporations themselves. So we see them sometimes following suit as well, trying to fall all over themselves to, oh, well, Jesus would love them, so we got to accept and let them, come in the church and be pastors. And I'm not saying Jesus wouldn't love them, but Jesus wouldn't let them be a pastor either, not living in sin like that. But anyway, y'all know how easy I can chase a rabbit on that one. Now we constantly see Christian organizations going to court and sometimes losing, being forced to shut down or give up their convictions. But the BSA won their battle. They went to court over this and they won. And then what happened? They gave it up anyway, right afterward. It's my belief that the draw of I was just going to say it's the draw of being accepted. But then it occurred to me, when you go back and look at whenever they put forth that resolution and they voted it down, that those three big corporations left, pulled their money out and left. So I was thinking, people just want to be so accepted that they'll do anything, throw away their principles and convictions. But then I got to thinking, it's not just that, it's the money. When these corporations withhold, if you don't let gay people in or let gay people do this, we're going to pull our funding. And these organizations, they depend on that money so much that they're like, okay, we'll change. Instead of what they should do, which is be like, okay, if you're going to take your money out because we won't approve of your wicked worldly behavior, then be gone with it. Stand on your principles and let God provide what they're taking their money out. Be like, that's okay. God will take care of us. We don't want your dirty money anyway. Get it out of here. But I think it's a combination of the two. It's people just want to be accepted. I think I said that in a previous episode. People just want to be accepted. It's normal part. You just want to be liked by people. Sometimes that ain't going to happen. And that's okay. We have to tell ourselves some people ain't going to like you, and that's okay. But I think it's both of those things. What these groups need to understand, I'm about to drop a truth on y'all that you probably already know. But in case you don't know, I'm about to drop a truth on you. What these groups need to understand is these people asking them to compromise don't want to be their friend. They don't want to be your friend. Understand that. They'll pretend that's the case, but they really just want to hurt Christianity. They want to destroy Christianity, but that's not going to happen. But they want to hurt it any way they can. Remember, if the world is patting you on the back and being your buddy, you're doing something wrong. Okay? If you have a Christian organization, whatever your ministry is, and the world just, oh man, these are the best. I love these people. These are my kind of Christians right here. You're doing something wrong. You are. So these groups, these LGBT groups or businesses that support such causes, they'll be like, oh, we just want you to accept this. And, that's what we say about the homosexuals all the time. Well, if we just give them this, they'll shut up, right? No, they won't. No. They want you to give an inch because they're going to take a mile. Like we thought, well, some people thought, I didn't think this, but some people thought 2015 when gay marriage was legalized, oh, well, they got what they want now, they can shut up. No. Have they shut up? No. That's not what they want. They don't want to be tolerated. They want to be accepted. They want you to be overjoyed celebrating their lifestyle. They're not going to stop until you're in subjection to them. So anyway, John 15, verses 18 and 19. If the world hate you, know that it hated me before it hated you. And if you were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. If the world likes you, you're doing something wrong. Because Jesus said that if you follow him, they're going to hate you. They're going to hate you. James 4:4. I think y'all know this one. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of God. So the gospel of Jesus Christ cost the apostles their lives, and Christians in 2020 are just worried that it might cost them some popularity. I'm telling you, and I can't, I can't convince everyone of this, but I think y'all probably already know. They don't want to be your friend. Well, just do this. I don't want to be accepted by them anyway. But that's the trap these big Christian organizations fall into by thinking that the world wants to be their friend. They don't. They won't tear you down. You're better off just standing on the Bible, standing on God's word, on biblical principles, and if you fall, you fall. But stay with it. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. This is way longer than I expected it. We'll see how I can get it trimmed down when I edit. For social media links, a biography of your host, and a list of places to get the podcast, visit the website gospelovergimmicks.org. If you would like to support the podcast financially, patreon.com/gospelovergimmicks. And these are our wonderful patrons, Roger Waters, Leanna Williams, and Rusty Williams. Thank every one of them for the support they provide that allowed me to order that microphone that I got coming. So appreciate them tremendously. You got any comments, any questions, a suggestion for a show, gospelovergimmicks@gmail.com is how you can shoot me an email. Of course, you can always go over to the Facebook page and shoot me a private message over there if you'd like. And you can find all the social media links to the social media sites on the website. If you liked what you saw today, subscribe, like, share, follow, whatever option there is. Write it, maybe do a review, rate, give us 5 stars, or give us 1 star. That's fine too. So before we go today, if you're not saved, remember, when you get to heaven, God is not going to ask you if you were a good person. He's not going to bust out a record of whether or not you did enough good deeds. He's simply going to ask you, is your name in the book of life? Did you trust in the death, burial, and resurrection of his son, Jesus Christ? Basically, he's going to ask you, you're going to get up there and be like, well, God, I did this. I helped homeless people. I have rescued animals, this, and this. God's going to be like, okay, what'd you do with my son? Oh, well, I'm not religious. That's what people say down here. I'm not religious, or I'm not that spiritual kind of person. That ain't going to matter. You either know Jesus and you get into heaven, or you don't know him and you get cast into hell. So I urge you today, put your faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. What does my shirt say here? I forgot already. Except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. So I urge you, get saved, man. It's good stuff. It's better than going to hell. Anyway, that's all I got for you for this week. Till next week, take up your cross, carry on. He counts the stars, one and all. He knows how much sand is on the shores. He sees every sparrow that falls. He made the mountains and the seas. He's in control of everything, of all creatures great and small. And he knows my name, every step that I take, every move that I make, every tear that I cry. He knows my name when I'm overwhelmed by the pain and can't see the light of day. I know I'll be just fine, 'cause he knows my name.